Ladies and gentlemen, today I bring you three very special guests, Sheridan and Becca Halfacre, as well as Thomas Doyle. Between the three of them, they own three businesses in the central North Carolina area. A firearms gunsmith retail location called It Back Armory, as well as a t-shirt and screen printing company, as well as embroidery, called Reba Elite Apparel, and a airsoft field called the Archangel Battle Park, located right here in central North Carolina. All three of them longtime friends of mine. We've kind of done a lot in the business world together. We've done a lot across Magic the Gathering together. We've done a lot together, and I wanted to bring them to you. They're Bitcoin friendly businesses. They are ready and willing to accept Bitcoin. They support Bitcoin. They support small business. They support Central North Carolina, and overall, they're just a real good group of friends and business people. So enjoy the episode. We appreciate any feedback anyone may have. So if you have comments or if you want to reach out to the group, just find the links in the show notes and enjoy the show. A quick round of introductions. Three people I know very well. I'm going to call them Halfacre, Doyle, and Becca, but they all have proper names. Sheridan, Thomas Doyle, or Sheridan Halfacre, Thomas Doyle, and Becca Halfacre, the better half of Sheridan.
Yes.
They all are in their own kind of business world, right? They all participate and work underneath kind of the same, I guess you might say, group or conglomerate, because they all work together. But Halfacre and Doyle, Becca all run a gunsmithing business. They run a t-shirt company, and they have some not paintball. I was going to say paintball, but no, airsoft related businesses. So they're all here in Alamance County. If correct, right? The shop is in Alamance. It doesn't cross the Orange County line.
The shop
Correct.
is in Alamance.
Technically, we're like 2 blocks away from Orange County in the Mebane.
The shop is in Alamance, and the field is in Alamance.
Yep.
So Alamance County heavy. Everybody we've had on so far has at least been in connection with Alamance County. We haven't had any Orange County folk on yet. I have invited some. They have not responded. Probably because they see Bitcoin in the title and just delete the email.
Oh, no.
But let's start off with the most complicated one, right? At least I would imagine the most complicated one, the gun one.
Yeah.
The gunsmithing business you have is not just gunsmithing. You also have retail stuff. Mm-hmm. You have license to, I don't want to misspeak here.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, I'll correct you if you do.
License to sell automatic weapons to...
No.
So we have an 0702. 07 being the type of FFL. That is a manufacturer, which means we can manufacture things called GCA items or just standard firearms. And an 02 SOT, which allows us to manufacture machine guns.
Now, SOT stands for Special Occupational Tax.
Yeah. So
it is a specific legal category.
If you wanted to get, say, a short-barreled rifle or a suppressor or something like that, that's an NFA item. You have to pay a $200 tax stamp, and that's your $200 stamp for the rest of your life. We have to pay $500 annually, but it allows us to make as many NFA items as we want. So we can't sell automatic firearms, but we can rent them out.
I got you. So you guys could make one, rent it out, let people shoot it.
Correct.
Have fun with it, what have you. You just can't let it leave your possession.
Exactly.
That's from an ownership perspective.
Yes.
That was part of the wedding, right?
Correct.
I know that we shot guns, but that activity was legal because of that.
Correct.
That documentation.
It had the proper licensing. It had the proper people present for that to happen.
Yes.
Correct.
So, what's business been like for the gun industry at your new location? Previously, you were at a range. Now you're in downtown Mebane. What's it like now?
It's been up and down.
How long has it been since? How long have you
2
been there?
years. We moved in October 22.
22.
Yeah.
And it took us about 6 months or so to get all of the paperwork in order for the move or the new location updated, and
especially with the ATF paperwork.
Yeah, ATF stuff just took the longest.
Yeah.
And other than that, we've just been rocking it since March? When's the Dogwood Festival?
We had a grand opening during not this year's Dogwood Festival, but last year's Dogwood Festival in 2023. which was April 21st. Of
Yeah, we had
2023.
a soft opening a couple months before that, and then the grand reopening during the Dogwood of.
I'm going to
23.
throw something out there real quick just to make sure it's out there and everybody knows. This may be a little political early on, but whatever. The ATF is evil and needs to be abolished. And repeal the NFA. Agreed.
What do you find that Mevin is friendly towards the business that you have?
It depends on who's approaching. So, for me, big bearded angry man that doesn't like to talk very much. No, absolutely not. Just in general, people tend to shy away from me because I try not to outspeak, I try not to talk too much, and I guess I look intimidating. Doyle would know better than I would.
It's definitely the beard.
Now
You
that
can't
we've
get
got
rid of it,
Becca
though.
involved, they're a whole lot more receptive to us. She's just got that retail brain.
I'm
And-
also the people person.
Mhm.
I'm the smile kind of thing. Like people come through, I'm happy to greet them. I'm happy to talk to them. I'm happy to make them feel comfortable.
Yeah.
But
It's very, very stereotypical. Half and I are the detail guys, the mechanical guys, the freaking the machinist type guys. Becca knows the people, the customer service, the interactions, the personal touch, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But like from the standpoint of politically, is Mevin okay with you guys?
Not particularly.
No,
Yeah.
Just Mebane specifically.
because you are within the city limits, so you do have to deal
Correct.
with the city.
Yeah.
So
We've ran into a couple issues. A lot of the business owners themselves tend to be pretty cool with us.
Yeah, they're
but
pretty
there are a
pretty
few,
excited that we're there.
vocal minority tend to say a lot of.
how do they come after you? Like, what have you run into?
It's usually on Facebook.
Yeah, they talk shit on Facebook.
Social media?
Like
currently
social
have-
media accounts.
Yeah, we currently have a couple people who, no matter what we post, they'll go and report it
Yeah.
just because.
It's
And-
on the Mevin pages, right?
Yeah, and no matter how the way Facebook reporting works is you cannot find out who reports you. There's just no way to figure it out.
Yeah,
And in order for them to just stop bots from auto flagging everything that comes out, or you paying a dollar amount for auto flagging, it has to be first AI reviewed and then actually reviewed. And AIs never go with what we say. They just see a gun or something roughly firearm shaped and automatically flag it for the next level. And Meta is very anti-gun, so they tend to automatically side with things like we'll have things that are not for sale and just say come check us out, and that'll get flagged
Right.
because we have pictures of firearms. That's our side, but her side's great.
oh, like the t-shirt side.
Yeah,
Yeah, the t-shirt side. So officially June 1st of this year, it's been an entire year since we purchased that screen printing shop. Originally, that shop was owned by Jay Starnes, who runs Fat Man and His Food, when it was located on Clay Street. And he had that there for years. I think he moved into the building we're in now, like 2018, 2017, somewhere in there. And he sold the business to a gentleman named Andy. He was a full-time firefighter. He ran that for like 2 years and sold it to us. So yeah, it's been officially a year. It's crazy. That's crazy to think about. Whole year.
Yeah, I remember when you were buying it, like when you were going through the process. And
Oh, that was terrifying. Emptying your
12 months
savings
later.
account.
Yeah.
emptied. I sold all my Bitcoin,
Yeah.
emptied all of my savings,
Hey,
and convinced her to empty her savings as well.
I
Yeah.
tell people all the time, like, if you're going to sell your Bitcoin, make sure that it's for something.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
like
Not because you want some.
yeah,
extra
not because
spare
you're
change.
buying something, but like you're making a life changing. Like
Yep.
if you said I've got $100,000 in debt and you're sitting on $100,000 in Bitcoin,
Yes.
yeah, I don't.
Life changing.
There is a sure, maybe in 5 years that'll be $500,000, maybe, but
But if you let that debt sit there, you may owe
Yeah.
$500,000.
it's a
you can,
100,000
you can
problem
change
right
your
now.
life.
Yeah.
Maybe it's worth it.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Especially if you're somewhat knowledgeable or you're experienced in the Bitcoin world and you can get more.
Yeah.
Right. Like if somebody gave you like 10,000 in Bitcoin and you sold it to pay off your debt, that's one type of person. But if you accumulated that over time, you understood what you were doing and you knew that, hey, now it might be a good time to sell because of the way the market is, and I'll buy some more later. and you're selling it to specifically change your life, then yeah, maybe it's a good idea.
You make me want to buy Bitcoin just to get rid of debt.
Well, actually, yeah, it's funny you say that because we've been talking about it so much. I actually logged into my stash account just like, I don't have any Bitcoin right now, but let's see what the other things I've invested in are doing. So that was just funny you mentioned investing and all that.
Well, Bitcoin will always be, I think, at least until something drastically changes, if it ever does, will always be something that I'm probably messing around with. But what I've found is that even when I thought I was deep in Bitcoin, I wasn't yet.
Oh, wow.
Like, seriously, like I bought that boat,
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to buy a cheap boat and just get it running and put it on the lake. Yeah. And then now I'm like, I should have never bought that damn boat. I should have bought some fucking Bitcoin. Like, this is ridiculous.
When was the last time you brought that thing out?
I never brought it out. It's still sitting in the same place I parked it.
Oh, no shoot.
But that's typical redneckery, right?
Yeah.
Like, I got to have at least one vehicle in my possession that doesn't work properly.
I was actually talking to a new sort of business partner that we have. I don't think you've met him, but his name's Eric Corda. He actually, you met him at the Dogwood. And I was telling him how, like, human beings, man, we're gaseous. We're gaseous creatures. Like how gas works, we expand to fill whatever volume that we're in.
Right.
And that's just how people work with money. Like, so like, hey, you got everything, all your ducks in a row. Everything makes sense with $40,000 a year. You can make it. Everything's fine. And then you get that, that upgrade, and you're at $75,000 a year.
Yeah. Now you got a different lifestyle.
Now you have a different lifestyle.
Creep.
So now you're going to have, would you have like financial creep?
Yeah. Lifestyle creep, financial creep.
Yeah. So, and I specifically mentioned you, and I'm like, I bet you that son of a bitch still hasn't even brought his boat out.
Nope. And
hey, it is summertime.
Yeah. Well, it runs, but the problem is the starter. Remember I told you guys the bolt that holds the starter on. Mm-hmm. That bolt, the hole that it threads into, that hole is stripped.
Okay.
So the starter will spin and the motor will start to turn over, but all of the gyration that the motor and starter go through during that process immediately pulls the starter off of the little gear that starts it. And so I've got to fix that. The bottom end of the motor, where the propeller and everything is, the guts of that need to be rebuilt because it had a leaky seal and it's got seawater in it. Mm-hmm. So it's got a number of problems. I should sell it. That's just what it boils down to. I should have never bought it. But now I'm like, I got to spend $40 on such. I'm like, maybe I could just buy Bitcoin instead. Just do that instead. We'll call it good. We'll pretend like we did it.
That's the cool part about getting old. You kind of start to like, I know a guy. Right?
Yeah.
So let us take a look.
Well, yeah. I mean, you guys can take a look at it. This reminds me of this book that I'm reading right now. Something that I immediately, when I read it, I was like, I've got to talk to these guys during the podcast about it. And it's unrelated to the gun side. We'll get back to that. But there was a point in history that the author, at least, proposes. The reason that people never understood probability or calculated risk before, say, the year 1400, somewhere around there, was in large part because the future was left to the will of the fates and luck. Mm-hmm. You couldn't influence it. So thinking about it was not even a concept you could really handle, right? You couldn't even generate that concept because it wasn't in your control anyway. And he presents it in a way that basically describes when your life is tied to repeating cycles such as winter, spring, summer, fall, harvest, plant, church, no church. All these repeating cycles, there is no future to look to because you already know that it's not in your control and you can't stop spring. You can't stop winter. Mm-hmm. So there's no planning for that. And mathematically, this was all before the number zero was really discovered. So before zero, it was very difficult to make financial calculations because you're writing out Roman numerals, or you could only count to, a certain limit, like 0 to 9 or 1 to 9. You couldn't just hop into 10. You didn't understand decimal places. So calculating out like complex algebraic formulas were possible, but the average person couldn't do it because, like, what's the number 1242 in Roman numerals? Yeah. It just becomes very difficult to do like weird translations. And I'm only like 3 or 4 chapters into the book. But when I read that, I was like, that's interesting. People couldn't think about the future because they just didn't believe that it was even within their control. And I tie that back to Bitcoin, and I think that
I would question that a little bit.
yeah,
Because at the time you were said up to like 1500.
Yeah, zero was invented before that, but up until 14 or 1500, we never tried to mathematically calculate risk in order to enhance decisions in the future.
Yeah, but people would make long-term plans at the time.
Oh yeah,
An excellent example of that is
how
a
many years did it
cathedral.
take to make the Pyramid of Giza.
Yeah, but you're not thinking. You're only thinking in the terms of something that's already happening, right? You know that the cathedral's happening because it's already being built.
Yeah, but whoever started the building had to plan that out, and often most cathedrals took like 100+ years to build.
Yeah, but this is more referencing the
insane.
average person,
whole century.
like the regular person. No, somebody's not planning cathedrals.
Yeah, maybe the average peasant or something.
And he also said that after the number zero, it made it to where riches no longer exclusively came from either the church or from government.
Yeah.
That it was possible to build a business because you could forecast. You could look down the road and say, okay, in 2 years, this business will be able to generate enough revenue. Anyway, this side note. So book I read.
What was the title of the book?
It's called Against the Gods.
Against the Gods.
Yeah, it starts off with the premise of like the Greeks discovered all of this, a lot of this math, but they never applied it because they didn't believe, at least the author's opinion, was they didn't believe that they could control the future. It wasn't about how do we do anything. The Greeks had asked the question when they found these mathematical formulas.
Yeah.
They asked the question of why is it this way, not how do we implement these formulas.
Right.
A whole lot outside of the golden ratio. They got the golden ratio down pat pretty well.
I wonder if fate is discussed in that book.
It is.
Yeah.
Fate and luck are the two things that govern the future.
Interesting.
And then once Christianity came around, post Judaism, you could talk about the future in terms of heaven or the future in terms of hell. But that was again something you could only have a certain amount of control over, right? You do all the things that were right, so you thought you would get to heaven, but ultimately it wasn't your decision, right? There was a gate guard.
Right. That's
a gate guard.
Well, most modern science and mathematics has its genesis from the Catholic Church.
Except for numbers.
Research.
Numbers started, like, according to this author, at least.
Maybe numbers specifically,
Proper
but
numbers.
I know most freaking even most of the applications of a lot of that math, a lot of architecture, almost all Western art and stuff like that had its genesis from the Catholic Church. Most freaking basic microbiology and stuff like that came from basically Catholic monasteries and such.
We'll get into this, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Doyle would be the person.
We can go much greater detail. Yeah.
On the gun side, like, where do you guys go from here? Like, what hurdles are in front of you right now? What can Mebane do to make it better? And what hurdles do you face in Mebane?
Well,
getting a lathe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually super interesting because I talk about to Doyle all the time, and I still marvel about it. Like, we've gone from, hey, we need to make $80 a day. We make $80 a day. We've not only paid all of our bills, but all of our overhead's done. Everything's good, and we put a little bit back into the business. And now $80 is like, it's not
chump change.
Yeah, we need to be making $500 a day, and it's super interesting to see how, like, that 1 hour of bench time, that helped pay for everything. And now 1 hour of bench time it's just chump change. It sucks, but we still will never turn our nose up to even a small job because that all adds up. But hey, I want to go get a fancy drill bit to go do this one job. That's what it used to be. Now it's like, all right, cool. What kind of heavy equipment can I get a hold of? Yeah. How can I change the infrastructure of my building so I can fit that heavy equipment?
How can we make it more fast, efficient, and safe?
Yeah. And
are you guys selling guns now?
Yeah.
On a regular?
Yeah.
I knew before you were doing mostly gunsmithing.
Yeah, we do a lot of consignment, actually.
Yeah, that's the overwhelming majority of what we do. So, like, quick rule of thumb, there's roughly 11%. Let's just say 10% for easy numbers. 10% return on firearms, right? So if it costs me $1,000 to get this rifle and put it on the wall, we can roughly expect about 10%. Maybe $100 off that job, and it's really difficult for him and I to,
grasp
logistically sit $1,000 on the wall and not utilize it until it finally sells for maybe an extra $100. So we rely heavily on consignment for the retail aspects of everything. But yeah, most everything is gunsmithing, working on trying to plans for like long-term manufacturing. Like we have plans to make our own shit, and getting the correct brains and the correct chairs at the right time. That's one of the things we're focusing on. Sort of like gunsmithing itself. We have an apprentice that we can trust. We have somebody who can do a lot of that, or I can teach him that, and he can run the majority of the smaller things that come in, and that leaves me a little bit more wiggle room to focus on the more in-depth projects, or machining and things like that, and also admin and trying to go get those big machines. So before it was I need to make all of the ends meet. Now it is I have somebody who is helping me make the ends meet. How can I expand?
Yeah.
What can I do to expand? How can I lay the groundwork for the expansion?
Are you guys you're not talking about expansion physically, like to different locations?
Also physically.
Are you?
Yeah.
Not to different locations, like multiple.
Like not outside of your current establishment?
Yeah,
physically.
not what's the word? No sister locations or things like that yet. But was it yesterday? Yes, I think. Yesterday.
Yesterday.
I did a concealed carry class, and while we were there, was like, all right, cool, let's do it. We broke ground.
Yeah, broke ground.
Where? At the
out
field?
At the field,
Mm-hmm.
and actually officially started chopping down trees.
Yeah.
So you guys still plan on operating a range out there,
Yes.
kind of full time?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has that been? I know that last time I was there, there's lanes there.
There's
Or a
one
big
lane.
lane,
Yeah,
yeah.
one big lane, and it looks like a bag of ass. I'm not particularly proud of it. I don't like it. I don't like anything in regards to it, and I hate having to bring customers out there. Because your store, your location is a representation of who you are as a person, or more importantly, who you are as a company, right? And right now, if you come into our shop, it's a little messy, but like we work.
Yeah.
We're always working, and
Practically live there sometimes.
yeah, pretty much live there. And there are times where sometimes it gets a little more messy, a little bit cleaner. It ebbs and flows. But I'm still always very happy with how the store looks. Like even if it gets messy, like it's not like disgusting. It's not like a hoarder lives there. It is. Yeah, I'm working on this one project. That's why there's a bunch of tools out.
Yeah.
Whereas the field, the current location that we're shooting at, it just looks like shit.
Are you gonna tighten up the field?
Nope.
The shooting portion?
We're moving. So you saw the parking lot.
Yep.
And then off on the right side, there's that lane, the shooting lane.
Yep.
The property actually goes very far and left and right.
Directions. Yeah.
And we're pushing off to the left and just creating a whole
building a new
new
one.
Lane.
like entirely purpose-built range.
Well, I probably won't be able to help you in time, but I might have a lot of tires one day. So.
Yeah, well,
Hey,
Yep.
we know a guy. Look at that. We're getting older.
Yeah.
Now, in previous conversations, there's been a lot of talk about the other gunsmiths, the gun community from a business perspective in the region or in the area. In the Bitcoin world, I've learned that Bitcoin miners are very friendly. They vary wildly in their expertise, but the one thing that matters is that they care. It's all about revenue.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the dollar, right? Not the dollar, but it's all about the making your marks, meeting the expectations, getting new sources of energy, and they're not going to be friendly necessarily to another Bitcoin miner going after the same set of resources. It is competition. It is. Some people are not nice. My understanding is the gun community, from a business standpoint, isn't that far off from that.
Yeah, it depends on specifically what side of the business. That's actually the whole reason why, one of the many reasons why Doyle and I plan to diversify, and instead of just gunsmithing, we're focusing on gunsmithing and gun sales, and then completely separate from guns, the screen
Apparel.
printing and embroidery,
Yeah.
apparel, things like that. Completely separate from that,
Knives.
range, but still sort of tangential to the gunsmithing things. What we've learned with like just gunsmiths in general, almost all of them, they're pretty much exactly the same as us.
Yeah.
Almost all of them. There are a few people who don't care for it, but hey, my work stands on its own. There's plenty of fish. Like, we do not care. Like,
what about business to business relationships?
Yeah, even
Pretty
then.
good?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So like, the old graybeard that we all look up to, that we all aspire to be, is Double H Gunsmithing. Double H, not H and H.
Double H.
Double
yeah,
H.
If you type H and H, you're going to get some weird whatever the hell. It's Double H Gunsmithing, Mr. Ken Barfield.
Ken Barfield.
He's around here?
He's up in Providence.
Okay.
So like, what do you think? Like an hour and a half or so?
It's not an hour and a half, I don't think. I think it's closer than that.
More than an hour away.
It's a good drive, yeah.
Yeah, from where we are. And he sends us work. We send him work. He is the established guy. He is an alumni of the same program that we went to. And when he got set up, he was a perfect storm, right? He had enough experience, he had enough money and enough time, and he made it work. And he's just been building that empire ever since. But he's not expanding. He doesn't have any plans to go build a range. He doesn't really get into machine guns. He does gunsmithing, and that's what he's happy to do. And we're happy to keep each other where we are. So there are times where somebody's like, "Hey, I need a very precise thing lathed in a very specific way." We send work to his way. Whereas the inverse, his average turnaround was like 9 to 12 months.
I think it was 9 to 12 weeks.
Weeks.
I believe it was 9 to 12
9
weeks.
to 12
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah.
And asking somebody to put their gun away for 3-4 months, like, it's a big ask. And if they ever want it faster, that's normally when
He'll send him down
he
to
pushes it our way. And he normally doesn't even really pick up the phone for less than $1,000. And not that he's an asshole or anything. He's just like, yeah, I've got
He's doing fancy high-end work.
500 projects, and they're all going to be bringing me at least like a couple $100 to $1,000. I don't really need that $25 gun cleaning. Well, hey, I'm more than happy to take that $25 gun cleaning if they're willing to drive down their way. You want it fast, you want it well, and you want it cheap. We're not all three of them, but fast and well done. That's normally where we found our niche.
Is there?
He's the high-end racing shop where you bring your Formula One car to get it fixed. We're your local oil change place.
Or local chop shop.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a lot of competition in the general area around here for the services that you guys provide? 'Cause
Yeah,
he's an hour or so away. You said, right?
So one thing that I've learned, especially with the older crowd, it doesn't matter what distance. Distance is literally not a factor. If they find a good gunsmith, an older gentleman will drive 4, 5, 8 hours plus.
Yeah.
Just for a gunsmith.
You've even had people come from Maryland that only trust you and want you to work on their stuff.
Like my grandfather, like, great dude, but he's like, yeah, I'm glad that you're doing that. I'm not setting in my work. I've got my gunsmith up in Pennsylvania that I drive to. I make it a weekend trip.
I don't trust your little ass.
He's
Thanks, Grandpa.
He's got a smith that he's been working with for the past 60 years. So it's hard to break that 60-year level of work.
There's a relationship there.
But the other thing, gunsmithing's in a really weird spot here we're not the triad. What would you call us?
I thought we were in the triad.
I thought we were in the triad.
Not in the triangle, but in the triad.
In the triad.
Triangle's like the Raleigh-Durham area, where the triad is like Raleigh.
I think the triad is
like
Greensboro, Burlington, and Winston-Salem.
Yeah, but we fit within that. Like, if you draw a triangle, don't we fit within that triangle?
I don't think so.
I'm going to Google it.
Yeah.
I believe Mebane is becoming popular because it's smack in the middle between the triangle.
Well, and it's right next to fucking the Tanger.
Well, the Tanger's in Mebane.
Yeah.
Tanger's part of Mebane. But yeah, I think that's why Mebane's popular, because it's right smack dab in between the two.
So let's just say like Central North Carolina, right? So Central North Carolina, it is the triad.
So the triad is the largest cities in the region, including Greensboro, Winston-Salem, and High Point.
Wow.
So yeah, that's further out west. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Central North Carolina is really interesting because there is this super odd phenomena of there is a hyper like there's a drought of gunsmiths and also a hyper saturation of gunsmiths. So there are two schools for gunsmithing, two very, very well recognized schools, two of the only schools in the United States. One in Piedmont, in Roxborough, Piedmont Community College, and one in Montgomery, North Carolina, or Montgomery Community College. So PCC and MCC, those are two of the top schools in the country. Well, probably honestly in the world, because where else do you find like this kind of gunsmithing?
Yeah.
They're all over, or there are students from those schools all over this place, right? You'll have people who graduate or go to it, stick through it for a little while, and then leave. And then they're like, I'm going to start my business. So they start their own little gunsmithing business or something like that, or a side hustle. And normally what will happen is either like, yeah, it's not as lucrative as we thought, or it's not as busy as we thought, or it was just a side hustle. My main gig is taking off. And then those guys they don't die out, but they fizzle out.
Yeah.
And you'll see a ton of them. Like you just Google gunsmiths in the area. There's a shitload of them. But there's also a drought in that the overwhelming majority of those people, like we said, fizzle out. And there's only 2-3 like actual gunsmiths within a couple 100 miles of around here.
Is Rad a gunsmith? I can't remember.
No, they're not. So Rad is a...
they said that they offered gunsmithing?
They do. They have a guy. So it's sort of like Distinguished Pistol. Think of it like that.
Yeah.
Distinguished Pistol wasn't a gunsmith.
Right.
They had a person on site who was a gunsmith.
Correct.
And we were our own business. Rad is the same way. They have their own thing, and they offer gunsmithing services, but it is a separate company that's there. And he's sort of kind of fizzled out.
Rad or the gunsmith?
The gunsmith.
Okay.
I don't know much about it. I'd love to talk to him and pick his brain, but he's similar to us. He's doing 0702 stuff, and he's manufacturing machine guns. But I think that's almost entirely what he's focusing on now. He's not doing he does like small things and then making machine guns. Whereas we're trying to do all the small things, all the big things, all the weird shit, and also make machine guns. But the machine gun side has definitely been an impact. We've definitely scaled that back just because it doesn't make much money right now. But when we have a range.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, I'd imagine that there's probably just not enough people that know about it. Because if you told me you can have a bachelor party in Charlotte or you can have a bachelor party at a machine gun range,
yes,
automatically I'm looking at the gunsmith or the machine gun range automatically.
Yeah. So with that, like there isn't a ton of competition because we all kind of stay in our own lane, and we all kind of have our own like claims to fame, right? So I apprenticed under Maverick way back in the day, and I learned a lot of good things and a lot of bad things from him. He's still a great gunsmith, but he does take his sweet damn time, and he'll tell you exactly that. He sends us work because somebody wants it done faster, so he'll send work our way.
He's in Mebane still?
He's north 119.
Oh, but he's not down where he was.
Correct. So he was right there next to right across from Lowe's.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, he got robbed. Somebody broke into his business, and he had been bouncing between two locations because he can't shoot there. He can't do any test fires there, and that's incredibly important if you're trying to do gunsmithing. Was just like,
how do you guys do test fires at your facility?
We have our range.
You just go down to your range.
Yeah, it's not that far away.
But we're also trying to do. Eventually, we will buy a pop box. Well, it's not actually a pop box. It's a giant like a bullet catch, and it's like it looks like a big bookshelf, but it's filled with rubber. And it can different versions are rated to different like types of ammunition.
I can't remember the brand, but they do make like
it's called like Bullet Bunker, I believe.
Yeah.
I think I actually
and it's patented and all that jazz.
Yeah, the patents suck.
Yeah, Bullet Bunker. It just looks like a big ass briefcase or a bookshelf or a safe or something, and we just shoot into it. There's a pretty popular company that I cannot remember the name of. in a similar vein to us, but they just make miniguns. That's their whole thing, and just like the motor for one of these miniguns is like 60 to 80 grand.
Jeez.
So it takes a lot of money to get into the business. So, they spent a lot of time and money getting into that niche, and that is their niche.
Yeah.
And they test fire all of their miniguns into one of these bullet bunkers.
Wow.
You guys have the shop downtown where you do your work.
Yes.
You have the range where you can test your work and other people can come shoot machine guns. If I wanted to rent a machine gun and I didn't have a place to shoot, is there a rental fee associated with using the range? Or do you guys say you rent the gun, shoot wherever you want to, we'll just be on site?
So the plan is we bring you to our range because we know, hey, we've done aerial, and sat images. We know the lay of the land. We know where those rounds are going to impact. We know that there's no damage that can be done to another person.
So if you rent a machine gun, it's kind of, unless otherwise discussed, you're renting it to shoot at your range.
Correct.
Correct.
Now we will do other locations like per request, but it has to be like, hey, give us a couple weeks of research to determine whether or not this is actually a safe location.
Yeah. We'd have to be able to scout the site in advance.
Yeah, and scout the site.
Yeah.
Find a good place. That's why we were
makes
able
sense.
to do the wedding location, the wedding venue, because the guy who owned the venue, he hunts there all the time, and he's shooting. I think he was shooting like 30-06 or something like that. So, hey, we're not doing anything near 30-06.
Yeah.
We know we're going to be good.
And he almost he had like a little mini berm on the property, anyways. Like so.
So we were shooting into the berm anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're the only gun company that I know of in the world that 100% for sure has accepted Bitcoin for a gun.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, April, March, what was that?
Yeah,
October?
it
No,
was-
it was March. It was
I think
March.
it was March.
Okay.
Yeah, because I remember the sign now.
It was cold.
Yeah, it was still cold
It
outside.
was March 2022, I think.
I think
23.
23. 23.
Yeah, because it was right before we opened.
Yeah.
So one of your first sales of a gun in that facility was to Bitcoin.
Yes.
Would you do it again?
Yeah.
Would you do the Bitcoin sale again?
Yeah. Yeah, it's complicated, and we need to figure out the proper way to do it.
Yeah.
Because we took a pretty big hit on that.
Only because you sold early.
No, I mean like
Like,
transferring from Bitcoin to our wallet, and then
Yeah,
so it was
such.
like Bitcoin, and then from my wallet to this other wallet, and then from that wallet to cash, and then from that location to our bank account.
Yeah.
Right. So we got hit like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, there's easier ways to do it, but if you had held on to it, it would be, I don't remember how much the gun was, 600-ish?
Yeah, 600.
Yeah.
So that would be about 1,500 now.
Hell yeah.
That's the problem with Bitcoin, though, is it limits your liquidity
Yeah.
unless you really want it, right? So if you're selling, if you're running a business from Bitcoin, you need to be able to either convert that into dollars quickly and cheaply,
Yeah.
or you need to have the reserve funds to not have to convert it into dollars.
Yeah.
A company out of California, a healthcare manufacturing company, is now the second company in the United States to say they're going to put Bitcoin on their asset sheet as a treasury reserve.
Oh,
So instead of holding cash in a bank account, they convert
Holding-
cash
yeah, that
into
makes sense.
that's
Bitcoin.
pretty cool.
Well, their stock's up some like 20 or 30% since they announced this. So they come out and say, we're going to buy, I think their first buy was like $17 million worth of Bitcoin.
Nice.
And then they just came out and said, we're going to raise $100 million. We're going to raise $100 million just to buy Bitcoin. And so like you're starting to see 1s and 2s and 3s of entities doing this where they're like, we want this as a reserve asset. We want this to maintain value. And they're buying it up faster than we're producing it.
Hell yeah.
Today we're producing 450 Bitcoin a day. And like June 4th, the ETF spot 12,000. So there's a supply crunch coming.
Yeah.
But anyway, you being one of the only gun companies that accepted Bitcoin, what I think is really cool is there's situations like this where the Bitcoin community is like, hey, let's go look at the Bitcoin store map so you can figure out in your area who accepts Bitcoin. But unless you're kind of looking for it, you don't necessarily come across those businesses. But to say that you're a unique business in the fact that you offer firearms, which, I mean, let's tell the truth, there's a lot of headwind against firearms politically, socially. So opening that business, number one, is tough. But then number two, to say that you accept Bitcoin, that kind of puts you in the 1% of firearms clubs. You're one of the only firearm manufacturers and or retailers that accepts Bitcoin in the world. Yep. So if anybody's listening and you want to deal with somebody who accepts Bitcoin and does good work, you should probably come talk to It Back Armory in Mebane. Not to completely derail, but I wanted to cover a little bit about what Becca and the t-shirt side and what all you guys do for the t-shirt stuff, because that's the other half of this, right? That's the other half. I know if I walk into your building, one half is a gunsmith shop, and I go in the back, and it's a completely different business. It's a t-shirt company. Yeah. So how did all this work out? What do you guys got going on?
So, when we purchased the business, originally, well, still to this day, it was meant to kind of fund the gunsmith side, because like at the end of the day, like that's where the guys started back in 2019. But in return, I got to find my niche in life, I feel.
Yeah.
It's a cool feeling. I do. Sometimes I get frustrated with when machines break or, things don't go as planned, but, no, it's been super rewarding. And,
how do you like operating in Mebane from a business standpoint comparatively to the gunsmith business?
From a business standpoint, a lot of people come in and, they don't know I exist there. I think I finally got some new signage on the building recently, so that's exciting, because not a lot of people realize that there's like multiple businesses within that establishment. It's almost like its own shopping center mall, if you will. Yeah. Like come in, get a gun or two, leave with a t-shirt or a sticker,
go bowling
across the parking lot, but as that parking lot becomes kind of like the Buffalo Plaza, so to speak.
I hadn't heard that. The Buffalo
Plaza. It's becoming a place where a lot of people are coming to, and they're realizing we're there. And with the signage, people come in and they're like, oh, t-shirts. Cause I have a lot of customers who come in and they're like, guns.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, am I in the right place? And I'm like, yep, that's my husband's side. Come over to my side.
It's like walking into a cooking class, except one person's dressed up like a stripper. It's like one thing stands out really heavily. That's the guns. And then you realize like, oh, there's these other really good things going on right here.
Yeah. And we have lost some customers due to it. Not as many.
Not as many.
You've lost some t-shirt customers because you are also a gun business.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not nowhere near as much as we expected, but obviously the majority of them have been like schools. With schools, they kind of draw the line in dealing with guns.
Yeah, it's tough for like I've always advocated for, like, if you own a business, you should sponsor a sports team. You should you should do all these things to like help your community if you're a community-based business. But guns, it's like it would be hard to like imagine pulling up to the PTO meeting and then be like, sponsored by Rack and Back Fire. Not because it wouldn't be a good match, just simply because of the connotations.
Yeah, people just imagine. Yeah, people just imagine guns and think like rob, kill.
Right. But with Reba, apparel, like Reba standing for Rack and Back Armory, a lot of people think my name is Reba and not Rebecca. So I get a lot of people who email me and they're like, "Hey Reba, nice to talk to you earlier today," and I'm like. And I'll sign my email, like Rebecca Halfacre, and they won't I won't correct them because I'm not trying to be rude or anything. Like, call me Reba, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But it's I haven't experienced too many people like not wanting to deal with us. I do experience a lot of people who just kind of like call around and like price check, right? Because my side of the house, we are heavily like in deep with a lot of other screen printers around.
Yeah.
There are a lot of companies, and most people, they're going to call around and price, and I try to stay as fairly priced as I can. I'm not trying to, I still want to make a living, but like I still want your business. The business at the same time.
Yeah.
But I'm also not that person who's like, I don't want a customer just to want a customer. Like, I want to build a rapport. I want to know you by the first name. I want to, hey, oh, you need that order again? Gotcha. We doing this again? All right, cool.
Well, hey, look, I can flat out tell you, everybody I've had on here, I'm looking at the little piece of artwork we got over there outside of Rack and Back Armory that's already on there for Doyle when he was here originally. Mm-hmm. There's Willow Tree muffler. Mm-hmm. There's also, there'll be another signature on there soon from the guy who runs Willow Tree. His grandson, Evan, runs his lawn care business.
Nice.
So there's Willow Tree Lawn Care. Obviously, Taxman's up there. I'm up there. But there's also, you guys probably know these guys now, Mebane Electric.
Yep.
Right there in the parking lot.
They're our neighbors.
You had Mebane Electric in here?
I had Jim from Mebane Electric. He's
that's
actually
cool.
my most listened to episode.
Oh, that's awesome.
I think it's because people read the episode title. If you
Yeah.
read it quickly, it looks like it says Electric Jim. instead of like Electrician Jim, it says, if you just glance at it, it looks like
Jim.
Electric Jim. But he's my most listened to episode. I think Wayne is number 2. Ed Priola, he's running for city or Alamance County Commissioner. But of all the people that we're going to have in here, they'll all be business related, or at least most of them will be.
Yeah.
So as time goes on, it'd be great to connect you guys from a t-shirt perspective and a gun perspective, if that serves the case. But connect you to those businesses because they probably don't even know you're here. Like Willow Tree Muffler probably doesn't know that you're here, and he probably doesn't know you own a gun store.
Yeah.
Right. And I guarantee you, Wayne from Willow Tree wants to buy some guns. Right. I just, based on my conversations with him, I think he likes guns. So I think that people hearing that you're there, that you support firearms, that you support all these other things that we kind of talk about on here, I think as we grow, that will help you grow. If that makes sense.
A lot of, so like as far as like the business model aspect, like with the apparel side and the gunsmithing side is, we kind of consider ourselves like a mom and pop shop, so to speak. Not to like discount like our business partners by any mean, but like people come in and they're like, okay, Sheridan, Rebecca, one runs one side, the other runs the other side. That's cool. They're local. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool. It is kind of mom and pop-ish.
Right.
You have almost like a dividing line down the middle of the building.
Right.
It's like, this is where...
And I get to go have lunch with my husband.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Actually, so I can point directly to a specific instance very recently that the like mom and pop shops tend to be able to, like from an entrepreneurial point, they can pivot very, very quickly. That if you look at those larger corporations, it's not physically possible.
Yeah.
And we just landed a contract, a pretty decently sized contract on the gunsmithing side that was completely unrelated to gunsmithing because we also do laser engraving.
Yep.
And I don't want to put any names out because I think that we have to start signing NDAs.
Right.
But part of the reason we landed that contract was because we were a mom and pop shop, and the guy came in, hey, can you engrave this? And I was like, yeah, sure. And he's like, okay, I'll be back in a couple of days to see what you do. I was like, no, let's just go do it right now.
Right now.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, okay. And he was very, very flabbergasted that I was like, all right, let's do it right now. And then he's like, that looks really good. Let me go talk to my, the higher ups and get some more information. And he came back the next day with 2 blank items for us to engrave. And I'm guessing the first one was just like a shot in the dark. Hey, can you do this? Can you engrave it? Cool. And then the second interview, so to speak, was a proof of concept. Hey, this is exactly what we need engraved. And we want to see, the higher ups want to see what it looks like. So we did 2 full run engravings for this guy. And he walks in and he's like, hey, I have these 2 things for you to engrave. Can you engrave them? I was like, yeah, sure. Let's go ahead. And he's like, cool. Well, I'll go ahead and drop it off. I'll see you in a couple days. Like, no, man, let's go sit down right now.
Yeah.
It's very easy for me to, I've learned, Becca's much better at the program than I am, but I've gotten pretty good at the laser engraving program, and I was able to zap it for him. It probably took less than 10 minutes to get them both done. And they were incredibly impressed with just how fast it was and how flexible that we are as a company. Because like I know one of my biggest complaints when I was working with other gunsmiths was, yeah, I work on ARs. Like, hey, so I've got this cool 1911. No. Let me stop you there. I work on ARs. That is it. That is the only thing I do. Whereas we're the exact opposite. We're jumping like, hey, I've never worked on an air gun. Let me go study air guns, and I'm going to go learn how to repair an air gun.
Yeah.
I've never worked on a black powder gun. Let me go, learn how to repair one. I've never run a screen printing or an embroidery company, but
But let me hire my wife.
Yeah, I can see how it is
screen
very lucrative. Let's get into that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's been super helpful.
Doyle, obviously, you cover both gunsmith and the airsoft side.
Yeah.
Do you have involvement with the t-shirt side? I know
Not necessarily
legally,
he slung
but
some ink for me once.
I'll help out when I have
Yeah.
time. Yeah, I'll go in there and help out.
What's kind of on your plate from the business perspective? What can the airsoft thing is a whole different.
Yeah, that's a whole different
se.
ball game. Yeah, so my main involvement in it is how do you always put it?
The shop sugar daddy.
Yeah. So yeah, I work
He's
a lot of
available,
time at a
ladies.
security company.
He is available.
I am single, but I work mostly at a security company, which also has an office in that same building, which is how that whole relationship came about. And for the most part, I'm making money so that I can get some of the last pieces of heavy equipment that we really need to be able to do everything.
Pretty much entirely self-sufficient.
So you need a
Yeah.
lathe.
Yes.
What kind of price range is that falling into
At
for
least
what you're
$5K at the
for what
bottom.
you're looking at?
Very
Yeah,
least.
5K on the cheap end. A
Yeah.
good one, what, 7 or 8?
7 or 8 up to about 12 grand.
Yeah.
The
It's
prices
not
do
light.
vary very wildly, but no more than 15 grand. So less than 15.
So if I was in the area and I needed a part produced, gun or not, absent lathe right now, could you still produce parts for in a machining type way?
We do have a much smaller lathe, like a benchtop lathe. It doesn't have much ass to it. It has trouble turning very common things that we work with.
It's good for a pinch, but
it is good in
Yeah.
a pinch, and we've learned how to utilize it. So instead of using like the actual proper lathe cutting tools, I do it all by hand. So sort of like your wood turning lathes.
Yeah.
Right. You use a hand tool to get it down to size. I do the same thing. Obviously different tools, but like, hey, I need to turn this metal to the specific size. That's what I'm going to do.
Gotcha.
And I do it all with like files and a couple other things. So until we get to a lathe where I can actually start utilizing lathe tooling, I do it all by hand.
Are you guys expanding into general machining?
Yeah.
As a business model?
Yeah, we have no issues with it whatsoever. Like we were saying, man, like apparel is very, very different than firearms, and we had no issues with it. It was just financially a good decision.
Yeah.
And it came with live contracts. It came with
existing customers.
Existing customers.
Came with an employee.
Came with, an employee. It came
embroidery
with all
employee.
of the equipment.
Yeah.
The stuff to run the equipment. It was a great turnkey operation, and it was just a good decision. It cost a lot of money and a lot of time and all that, but we've, as of this month, we will have paid off that almost the remainder of that cost for that business. We'll have paid off that debt, and the only debt remaining is us, like, to ourselves, to the business.
What about the airsoft side? How does that interact with? Does the airsoft business that you're a part of, Abdul, interact with Racket Back?
Not directly.
Yeah,
So
not as much.
the way the airsoft thing works is basically the gentleman who owns the security company also owned the airsoft business, and he had some fairly severe staffing issues that looked like he might have to close the business down. And we used that as he was allowing us to use that as a place to test fire. And so I was like, whoa, wait, please don't close that down. Let me help run that thing and see if we can keep it from collapsing. And there's clientele base, there's people who want to come out and play airsoft and everything like that. And that was basically all it took, is somebody to go out there and manage the thing in order to keep it from falling apart. And so basically I manage it and got an ownership share of it. And in return, we get access to the field whenever we want.
So to summarize all of the activity inside that building, we've got machining.
Yep.
We've got gunsmithing proper.
Yep.
Like, it may include machining, but hand tooling, gunsmithing.
Yep.
And Cerakote.
Cerakote.
Yep.
Laser
Can't forget that.
engraving. Am I missing anything on the gunsmith side? Retail, gun
Would
retail.
you
gun-
incorporate Corda into that? With the blades
So that's
and
actually
knife
something
making,
we never
yeah.
even mentioned to you yet.
We mentioned, I think, him once.
I've mentioned
but-
him once.
Is it a knife guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he.
So
yeah,
he's
yeah.
his own thing now. And
Is he
he's-
out of the same building with you guys?
Yeah, he's on our side. He rents a little section from us.
Oh, he has a little spot inside the store
he
that
does.
he takes
Yeah.
care of.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. that's
And,
And he's running classes. And
he's doing forging classes,
Yeah.
knife making
Where?
classes,
Right there?
right in the shop.
Inside, he's
Inside
doing
the shop.
forging.
Yep.
How does he
Well,
forge?
he doesn't forge indoors. He forges
okay.
outside.
Outside,
little
there's
alleyway
there's
behind
a
the
safe
shop.
area where
got
he
you.
could do the anvil and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Back where that generator is.
Yes.
Like that little
Yeah,
back
the one
area.
that doesn't even work.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
just there.
theoretically, it works.
Theoretically.
I'm told that it works. I've never
So,
seen it.
so you have,
Allegedly.
you have knife sales?
Knife sales,
Yeah.
knife making, custom leather, custom embroidery.
Like available 5 days a week.
Yeah.
He's there all the time.
He's so
It's not like a once a month gig.
he has like a family and kids that he has to take care of, obviously. So he's actually going to get like a 9 to 5. Hopefully he's able to get a remote gig so he can actually come into the shop,
Right.
Work
like
there.
normal, and do the remote.
But
shit
as
there.
of right now, it's his full time gig. As of right now.
No, as of like yesterday,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's like, all right, cool. I've decided he needs to go get a 9 to
Gotcha.
5. Admittedly, like we were.
I know he talked
very-
about it.
We were very lucky in that, like, when we first started, I'm 100% VA disabled, so everything that I don't use to eat or pay my bills goes to the shop. And Doyle was able to take the very similar mindset, but his is much more lucrative, being shop sugar daddy. So he can.
I'm gonna make you a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should have an official shirt that you wear.
It'll be polo. It'll be embroidered, official.
Sugar daddy.
Yep. I'll wear it.
But we were able to be very flexible, right? 2 single dudes way back when, like it was easy for us to make happen. Corda opened up the business. We were able to help him out as much as we could. But he's got, a wife, 2 kids. His wife is in school waiting to get a job.
She's about to
finish her job, and she's already been selected to work somewhere. So that that's
Like
another
mid-July.
form of income.
Yeah.
But like that's a big free fall period.
Yeah.
Especially with household
family.
mortgage, kids.
So he's stepping
Yeah.
back to take some time to go do job stuff. But in the meantime,
Are
like
you still going to retail his work?
Yep.
Okay. So some knives, guns,
engraving,
engraving,
forging,
forging,
leatherwork,
leatherwork,
woodwork.
general machining of like within your abilities given the machinery that you currently have.
right?
CNC
screen
routing.
printing.
CNC.
I'm trying to think of all the machines.
T-shirts,
Yeah, screen printing and embroidery.
and that'd be hats, shirts, jackets, anything,
Yep.
right? Anything that
Even backpacks.
fits inside the machine that you need. it to fit
Anything
into.
that can fit on the hoop, in theory,
Yeah.
fit on the hoop. As long as it fits, it sits. Like,
if it fits, it prints.
yeah.
And then Doyle, you have you're on the range.
Yeah.
But you're on the range supporting airsoft processes.
Yes.
What's the next big thing for airsoft with you guys here? Are you just running your weekend events, weekly events?
We're open on the weekends, Saturdays, 9:30 to 5. Sometimes we push that a little bit later to 5:30 if people want to run a few extra games or something. But yeah, that's pretty much all it is at the moment. We're slowly working up to hosting some events, but nothing concrete yet.
Potentially opening up on Sundays.
Yeah.
Yep, that's been discussed.
Y'all are
as well.
also like trying to organize more themes.
What about an archery
For them?
range out there?
I mean, there's
something
reason
we've never really tried or
there's no
thought
reason
of.
we could.
I mean, you got the land. So that's why I said
Yeah.
you got
it's-
land. You could
it's something we could do. Yeah.
archery range.
Yeah.
So to pull everybody back in, you have one, and the security business is under that roof.
Yes.
Yeah, under the roof, and all 3 of us are involved in it in at least some way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's one collective of people running multiple businesses, kind of all based out of the same location.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All red-blooded, patriotic, local business, not necessarily Bitcoin supporter, Bitcoin promoter, but Bitcoin friendly
Absolutely.
businesses are right here in Alamance County. Because what I think is hopefully going to happen as we proceed with the podcast and just kind of how you guys are going to grow is the more of these type of things that you guys get yourself involved with, the more fingers that you have in different parts of the pie, the more people are going to figure out about you, which benefits your businesses, and that just continues the snowball.
Yeah.
So people listening today might be in California, but they might want a gun and they might want to buy a Bitcoin, and they not necessarily want to buy a Bitcoin. They might want to buy a gun and like the fact that you support Bitcoin or you support freedom or you support XYZ and reach out to you. Right. So we cast a little bit wider net, although we're not catching all that many fish as far as listeners are concerned yet. This is an incremental process, like the Toyota plant, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just
Right.
an incremental improvement every episode. But in time, I think that the community will eventually be a lot more involved with you as you, especially on the machining side.
Yeah, we're planning a pretty big event.
When?
I mean, I guess
can you
we
talk
could-
about it?
Yeah,
yet?
I guess
I guess we can.
Yeah,
It's been under wraps for a little bit.
It's been a little under, but some not so great things happened, which we'll talk to off the air.
Sure.
In regards to the VFW, and they're all really good people, and we realize they also don't have there is nothing for veterans, veteran oriented anything in regards to Veterans Day here in Mebane. So we're going to host the Reba or the Buffalo Plaza
Veterans
Day event, and it will be the entire parking lot.
What do you guys
Vendors, food trucks.
Oh, wow.
Raffling off,
Raffle, yeah.
at least one rifle. Silent auction. There's gonna be indoor venue, outdoor venue.
Who are you guys bringing in for vendors? Do you know yet?
So we've during the Dogwood, I actually asked a lot of the vendors there. A lot of them seem to be very interested. We're going to have axe throwing. Hopefully, hopefully they're able to get that.
Hopefully they're available that day,
yeah.
because that would be so cool.
They already said they would be available.
Oh,
but
really?
They're trying to buy a portable axe throwing unit.
It's
And
not
they're gonna
hard.
Have that there.
It's a
and-
trailer with some
Yep,
cages.
It's a trailer with some cages, and
And a backstop.
I mean, you think every other fucking vet in the world, oh yeah, Viking, blah blah blah, do vet. So of course they're gonna love that shit.
Yeah.
We spoke with the local Armed Forces Recruiting Center here in Burlington, and they're going to come out.
Good idea.
Marine Corps is bringing out their pull-ups, and funnily enough, nobody else was there for us to talk to. Everybody else was busy
Doing whatever.
having the day off,
doing
I guess.
things.
So only the Marine Corps was there. So who to fucking thunk it?
Hey, come to think of it, when my recruiting station was multi, I think the Navy was in there as well as the Air Force, I think, and I don't think I ever saw those dudes.
Yeah,
I'm not talking bad about them in general. But I don't think I ever saw those dudes.
I saw the Navy once and the Army once, and I never saw
The Air Force guy
there.
was just like, "Have you watched Top Gun?" All right,
You know what's hilarious? I'm sitting.
Top Gun is the Navy, not the Air Force.
But
Oh, I always thought it was the Air Force.
but we're doing this event, and
Marines.
everybody's we're gonna have food trucks there, all kinds of shit, and it's we actually, this is the really crazy one that we had access to. Our social media manager, her husband is in the National Guard.
I know he's airborne. That's all I know.
Reserves. I don't know what he is. He's in the Army of some sort. And he already, before we even announced anything, this is technically the official announcement.
Yeah.
He already reached out to his command, and his command was like, "Yeah, sure, we'll bring out the heavy vehicles and all those other things. We'll bring out the armored forklifts and trucks and all that other shit." I was like, "Cool." I just wanted a Humvee.
Are they
and
bringing a
Deuce and
tank?
half, but they're trying to get tanks out there and
Oh,
all kinds of shit.
I just want to climb to the top.
Brian is going to fucking hate me because he just paid a lot of money
say,
to redo
to
that
do his parking lot.
Um,
Oh, we have to think about that because that's a lot of money right there.
Good news is American tanks have rubber treads.
Interesting.
Yeah, Russian tanks do not. Russian tanks destroy asphalt, whereas the American tanks were designed to drive in the U.S. highway system.
Interesting.
I didn't know that.
Huh.
Yeah,
did
that's
not know
why.
that.
Why is the highway system a thing?
Yeah.
It was invented during the Cold War.
Yeah, late World War II, early Cold War.
Yeah, it was to be able to quickly and efficiently maneuver the U.S. military anywhere in the country.
I did not know that.
I did not know that either.
Wait,
That's
the U.S.
interesting.
military can't operate. They can move, but they cannot operate within U.S. borders. right?
Unless we're invaded, and that kind of goes out the window.
Yeah, that's a different
So
story.
that was a much bigger
Loophole.
threat back then.
yeah.
So that
Cold
was
War
on the
time.
menu. And but theoretically, if they do bring tanks,
Yeah.
they're not going to drive them down fucking I-40 or whatever. They're
Right.
going to put them on trucks and then
Right.
bring them out there. So
No, that'd be cool.
that would
That would
be
be
pretty
cool.
You
cool.
guys got food vendors?
Yes.
Food vendors?
Like you already talked to Fat Man, I'm guessing.
Yep. We've spoken to everybody in the plaza. Everybody's going to help out.
Are they paying? Like, is there a charge to be a vendor?
Yeah, actually, so there's a so it's $50 to be an outdoor vendor, and that'll give you a 10 by 10 spot, and then
Indoor.
$100 to be an indoor vendor, and that'll give you I think a 10 by 10 spot, but it also gives you power, AC, obviously lights.
I'll be there.
If
I'll buy a spot.
Yeah,
for sure. I'll host a podcast episode.
That would be cool.
That'd be really cool.
That
Yeah,
would be really cool.
we'll just interview veterans.
We'll
just talk about
yeah,
That'd be
veterans.
awesome.
The Fat Man, they're the giant food area at the bowling alley.
Yeah.
It is big enough to warrant itself as a commissary, like a FDA regulated commissary. So that's actually part of the reason why he's in there, because he did a lot of food truck stuff, right? In order to exist as a food truck, you
gotta
have
have
to
a
operate
commissary.
out
Out
of
of
a
a
commissary.
commissary.
Yeah.
So
With all the laws. and
he's
stuff.
he used to be a food truck. He knows what it's like to run a commissary or to be involved in a commissary. So all he's going to be doing, prices and stuff might change. I don't really know, but the word that he gave me was, he's just going to take a percentage of profits. There's not going to be any cost other than like, hey, you can use our commissary and you can be a vendor. We just want a percentage of the profit for that day.
Right.
That's cool. No, that's a great idea. I think it'll bring a lot of exposure to you guys. It's good for veterans. It's a wonderful idea.
Yeah. We're
Kudos
going to
to
try
you.
and
Donate.
do a large portion of what we do, like obviously the auction, ticket sales, the whole gamut, donating to the local VFW.
VFW proper or
like-
VFW American Legion?
Mike Barr.
Mike Barr, VFW.
VFW.
Yeah, there's in this area there is a dividing line between the American Legion and the VFW for a variety
I've
of
heard
reasons.
of that.
It's weird. It's
There are
almost,
two very different types of people.
Yes.
it's a very strange scenario. Like there's so many like psychological things that I think are built into it, and there's so many. I'm not going to say it's outright a pissing contest.
Oh, you
But
go
there's
ahead.
there's some dick measuring going on at some level. I'm probably one of the few people who've been kicked out of one or both. Right? Like I've been physically removed. They didn't handle me. They just told me to
told
leave.
you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Doyle was there for that one. That was in one of my classic explosions.
Yeah, but generally the VFW. So it's sort of like the argument between like Pogues and Grunts, right?
Yeah.
So Legion is essentially Pogues and Grunts are like VFW. So like the Legion is open to anybody
Yeah,
who
if
is
you
served.
Yeah.
Whereas the VFW is very specific. It's almost like into the fucking name. Veterans of Foreign Wars. So you have to have served in a foreign
Right.
in a war. And technically, since like last year, they aren't making any more people who can be a part of the VFW. So like people who are currently joined, if you were to get out like right now, you cannot be a part of the VFW because you have not been involved in a war. Kids are coming out of boot camp with nothing on. There's no ribbon.
They don't get the Firewatch
They
ribbon
don't get the
anymore.
Firewatch
Oh, wow.
ribbon. It is gone.
Yeah.
So even
Like you
then,
got your shirt on backwards.
yeah. So,
Change it up a bit.
Yeah, that's sort of in my experience working with both groups. The dudes who were at the Legion, like they were fucking Pogues. I'm not talking shit about all of the Legion, but the dudes that I met, they didn't really give a shit.
Yeah,
They were like, "Yeah, I'm a veteran. Yeah, that's what I am." They're like, "Yeah." But whereas most like dudes that we've seen that served and like actually done, been there, done that, they don't really like to fucking advertise all that shit. Like most of us just
They're very modest.
is the
about it.
VFW going to be at the event?
hell yeah.
Is the American Legion going to be at the event?
I don't see why not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
Whenever I was doing stuff with them, that was one thing I always try to say was like anything I do is open to both.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Even
I
though I
don't
was
have a
really
problem
only
with either one of
affiliated with the VFW.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the goal is to improve veterans' lives, right?
Yes.
So
I think that
whatever
is the overarching,
avenue,
more important thing.
yeah, whatever avenue you have to take to reach them is the one. I try to tell the VFW, like, look, you want to improve their lives, actually improve their lives.
Yeah.
Like, help their wives. Do something in the community that helps them, that gives them a benefit.
Yeah.
One idea I had was if joining the VFW at whatever the monthly or annual cost is got me 10 free classes for my wife to go to a yoga studio that the VFW hosted when its doors were closed, I would have joined the VFW 10 years ago because it would have been beneficial to improve my life. Now, in this example, it's improving my wife's life, but it improves my life, in relation to that. So like if the VFW offered up things like, hey, if you're a member of the VFW, you get a discount at the community pool. You get your wife can come to yoga studios. We're working with the nail salon. Just touch on all these little things in life that make your life and your family's life slightly better instead of saying, instead of saying, what are we going to have for dinner next week?
Yeah, it's sort of like a boys club, and we hang out and have dinner.
Most of my experiences with the VFW, the people were pleasant, but the goals were effectively the same as last year.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but when you're trying to recruit youth, and when you're trying to make the claim that you improve lives, you can't just eat chicken and hand out some money.
Exactly.
You got to actually be in your community and do real things that improve real lives. Like Toys for Tots is a great example of something they do that actually improves lives, but that's a ritual. Every VFW across the county does it. Mm-hmm. Come up with some new things. Same for the Legion. Come up with new ways to improve lives, and people will join you. That's what I think.
Yeah, I know that's been a recurring complaint that Barr has. And he might get butthurt that I say it, but he was like, when he took over, when he joined the VFW, they're very transparent with their coffers. Like, hey, this is how much money we have as a post.
Yeah.
The dudes that were in charge of that post beforehand, oh yeah, let me do whatever I can to spend some money. Like it wasn't for helping veterans. It was doing whatever they could to spend as much money and get a discount here, get a discount there. They just demolished those coffers. And then Barr took over, and he's just been steadily trying to like increase those, the amount of money, because the money is, according to him, the whole point of it is, hey, this veteran, he just lost his job, lost his home, the house burned down, and the car was in the garage. Let's just drop half of our coffers to give them somewhere to stay. Do something to help out this local vet.
That I did see the VFW do.
Yeah.
That I will give them credit where credit is due. I did see them help specific people.
Yeah.
With real needs.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
hey, I don't have groceries.
Yeah, or I've been evicted, and we, the VFW would get them a week at a hotel and then give them some resources to help them get back on their feet. Yeah. Whether or not they did is immaterial.
Yep.
It's the opportunity and the help that you're getting, and maybe you get repeat help sometimes. It just depends. But I saw the VFW do things like that. And I've talked to Mike Barr about having him and one of the VFW fellows on so we can talk about the VFW, because that's a community thing, right?
Yeah, and they'd be able to give you a much more firsthand description of what they're doing.
What I thought about was bringing the VFW and the American Legion on at the same time.
I was thinking the same thing.
And just be like, there's two knives on the table.
Yeah.
So, one of them is loaded.
But
we can't stay too late.
Yeah. I was going to say we could probably wrap it up, but I wanted to give everybody an opportunity to kind of get their last piece out, and also tell everybody where they can find out more about either you, your business, how they can get in touch with you, and general dates that might be important for anything that's coming up. So, Half, we'll start with you if you want.
Sheridan Halfacre.
How they find you?
On Facebook, or on the Twitter, or on the Instagram.
I know you said you got somebody doing your social media, but are you still respond to messages? Somebody messages through?
Yeah, absolutely. As long as I can, as often as I can.
What's your business at on Twitter? Is it just It Back Armory?
It is at Reba Gunsmithing.
Reba Gunsmithing.
Yep. And website is www.rebagunsmithing.com.
And you guys are right in downtown Mebane, 202 East Washington Street,
Correct.
Right? Yeah. So if anybody needs the address, 202 East Washington Street. Doyle, for the security company and your airsoft side, what do you got?
So the Archangel Battle Park, if you type that into Google, that'll take you to our location on Mineral Springs Road. We're only open on Saturdays as of right now. There's been talk of opening up on Sundays, nothing concrete yet, but that is something that's in the works. We do have rental gear available. Anybody's free to come out and play. You don't need to reserve a spot or anything like that.
And how can people get in touch with you, and or if they have questions about the airsoft side? Is there somebody they can reach out to?
Probably the Facebook page, right?
Yeah, posting questions on the Facebook page would be
because there's a couple admins on that page.
Yeah,
that can see it.
Yeah,
and I wanted to cover one more thing on the gun rental stuff for machine guns. What's the options for people to rent right now? Kind of what are the prices?
The AK is down. We had actually an experience with SHOT Show, and we cannibalized a lot of our AK parts to go to the SHOT Show job. So we currently have the Barrett 50 for rent, and $50 a head, $10 a shot after that. Sort of like getting into a strip club. You pay your entry fee, you get a free drink with it.
Yeah.
Right. So you pay $50, you get one free shot with it, and then you pay for each drink after that. Same thing with the we have the MP5 and the Sten gun. Those are available. Those are at 60. And then the AR, just bog standard AR, that starts at 100. We've got a lot of little onesie twosie machine guns in the works. A G3, PPSH 41. What else is there? Looking at doing an Uzi, a couple other things.
Every time somebody says Uzi, I just think of that Steven Seagal movie when I think he was in Jamaica and there was a bunch of dudes. The Bubba Clot. Bubba Clot.
But yeah, we're always making more.
Sweet. So machine gun rentals, airsoft, security. What about the security side?
So the security side of things, if you're looking for security, hit me up. I can put you in contact with our sales folks.
What's the name of the security company?
Signal Security.
Signal Security.
Yeah.
And that's there. You're based out of Mebane for your location, but you guys have locations all around.
The main office is actually in Durham. The Mebane office is kind of a satellite location actually now. Yeah.
And then the t-shirt side, Becca, what you got? How can people find you? What's coming up?
Well, you can find me at the same brick and mortar location as the gunsmith side, 202 East Washington Street in Mebane, right across the bowling alley parking lot. It's that big brick building in the bowling alley parking lot. You can't miss it. They can find me on Facebook at Reba Elite Apparel. They can email me at reba.eliteapparel@gmail.com. They can call my number. Yeah, there's multiple ways to get a hold of me.
Now, we didn't talk about this during this, but maybe something me and you can get together on the future. You have a whole art side that we didn't even address. I've seen your murals. Yeah. I've seen your. I've
done a couple murals in Mebane. I've done a lot of painting in my day.
Are you open to that type of work or
absolutely
discussions with people if they have questions they want to talk to you about it?
I've been an artist. Gosh, I think professionally like half my life.
I've seen your work. It's obviously fantastic.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, I do everything from body art, body painting, murals, commission work on canvases. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So somebody can come into one building and basically find all three of you and get their gun fixed, their t-shirts made, their airsoft going, their machine guns rented. Yeah. You guys are like an anarchist one-stop shop.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to learn how to make bread. So that'll be really good.
You about to draw those homestead folk.
I forgot to mention. I'm sorry to interrupt you. We have a friend of ours. It's actually my brother-in-law's girlfriend. She makes goat milk soap, and it's awesome. It's helped with my eczema and stuff like that. And we're gonna start carrying her soap in the store as well.
Nice. Yep. She's like, I convinced her to start like doing shapes, and so she's doing like
grenade shapes, bullets.
I guarantee you, there's not a single grenade soap in the planet outside of your shop.
And you know what? It's my favorite one. It's like cedarwood and something. It smells so good.
Can you make a gunpowder smell?
Yes, we do have gunpowder soap.
She has gunpowder soap.
Yeah. I threw out a bunch of options for like potential things like shapes, like gun related things, and the gun things didn't work too well. Grenades have worked great. She talked me out of bullets, specifically because they're kind of phallic, and people will put them in places. Yeah, but it's kind of hard to shove a grenade up your ass.
You should come with a warning label that just says
shove up your ass.
You should just have a warning label that says "Do not insert," and then in parentheses, unless you want to.
Yeah, I'm down.
But in all seriousness, her business name is Butterhoof's Bath Essentials. God, that's a mouthful. But Butterhoof of Bath Essentials.
Sweet. Maybe we should talk to her too.
Yeah,
it'd be awesome. She was actually here today. Yeah. I had breakfast with her. She was on her way back to Raleigh, and I was like, "Hey, stop in. I'll cook you breakfast."
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, you know how this ends, Doyle. You've already signed our canvas. Yep. For those of you listening that might be your first time, you don't know, we have a canvas that all of our guests sign at the end of 21 episodes. We're going to try to auction it off. If nobody bids on it, I'll bid on it myself. But whatever the proceeds are from either, we'll just go to the Bitcoin core developer community.
Cool.
So after we're done here, if you guys want to drop your names on, you can sign whatever color, size, make a drawing, whatever you want. So cool.
On.
Thanks for having me, guys. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Yep. We'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks, everybody.